The Central Nervous System, Chapter 12. To begin our journey into the understanding of the central nervous system, we first have a start at the very beginning, the very early stages of development. The brain and the spinal cord begin at the embryonic structure called the neural tube. Once this neural tube grows and forms, its anterior end begins to expand and develop into three primary brain vesicles: the prosencephalon, the mesencephalon, and the rhomboidencephalon, or forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. The posterior side of the neural tube begins to form what will become the spinal cord. After some more development, the primary vesicles split into even more sections. The forebrain develops into the telencephalon and diencephalon. The hindbrain splits into the mesencephalon and metencephalon and myelencephalon. The midbrain stays the same throughout this developmental stage. This is the last stage before it forms into the fully adult brain. The adult brain is broken down into many regions that go out to form many functions of our daily lives. The telencephalon goes to form the cerebrum, which is what we typically think about when we hear the word brain, that weird mushroom cap on the top of our head. And it makes up about 83% of the brain's mass and is divided into four lobes. The frontal lobe, our thinking, our memory, our behavior, our movement. Our temporal lobe, which is our hearing, learning, and feelings. Our occipital lobe, which is in charge of our sight. Our parietal lobe, which is our language and touch. The diencephalon goes to form the thalamus, hypothalamus, and epithalamus, which is seen at the top picture, each one having many different important jobs. Like the hypothalamus, which controls our temperature regulation, our wake-sleep cycle, our thirst, our hunger, our sleep, our mood, our sex drive, and also the release of many hormones within our body. Our thalamus is in charge of relaying sensory impulses from receptors in various parts of the body to the cerebral cortex. And our epithalamus' job is to connect the limbic system to the other parts of the brain. Our mesencephalon goes to develop our brainstem, which contains the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. Our brainstem acts like a bridge. Its job is to relay information from the brain to the rest of our body. Our pons transfer information selectively only from the forebrain to the cerebellum. Cerebellum. And our medulla oblongata helps regulate our autonomic functions, such as our breathing, our heart, blood vessel function, our digestion, our sneezing, swallowing. The midbrain's main focus is our motor functions and alertness. When something whizzes past our head, that's our midbrain. The metencephalon also forms the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the swishy ball at the bottom of our brain, which is in charge of our voluntary movements such as posture, balance, coordination, speech, and results in smooth and balanced muscular activity. Without the cerebellum, you'd probably flop around like fish out of water. Lastly, at this stage in development of our spinal cord, it's fully functional and is connecting large parts of the peripheral nervous system to the brain and information that reaches the spinal cord through its sensory neurons and are transmitted then up to the brain to be processed. Let's talk about now the cerebral spinal fluid. Now, the cerebral spinal fluid is kind of like a clear liquid. It's kind of like a gel almost. It has three main functions. The cerebral spinal fluid protects the brain and spinal cord from trauma. It acts as a cushion. It helps our brain float in our skull almost. It also supplies nutrients to the nervous system tissue and also removes waste products from the cerebral metabolism. The cerebral spinal fluid is produced by the brain's ventricles. The ventricles include the paired lateral ventricles, the third ventricles, and the fourth ventricles. And these ventricles are then divided by a thin tissue called the septum pellucidum. Now the adult brain is fully developed. This walnut brain is holding a lot of information, such a small compact area. Because of this storage issue, the brain had to form grooves and ridges to fit everything inside within this small limited space. The elevator ridges on the cerebrum are the gyrus, or the gyri for plural, and the sulcus, or sulci for plural, is those shallow grooves within it. The brain also has deeper grooves called fissures, which separate large regions of the brain. The different types of fissures, sulci and gyri, dictate the location of region of the brain. The different types of fissures are the longitudinal fissure and the transverse cerebral fissure. Now, fissures separate brain regions, so try to think of it this way when you hear those two terms. The longitudinal one, longitudinal fissure, long, it separates the brain in half, whereas the transverse cerebral fissure, transverse, separates the cerebral hemispheres from the cerebellum. The sulcuses mark the different lobes from each other. So the central sulcus, keyword in this one, central, which is the word, which I think of the word center when I hear that word. So it separates your frontal lobe, which is right front center, from the parietal lobe. Next is the parieto-occipital sulcus, which in its name it kind of tells you what's involved, the parietal lobe and the occipital lobe, which the sulcus divides the occipital from the parietal lobe, respectively. The last sulcus, the lateral sulcus, separates the temporal lobe from the parietal and frontal lobe. The two different gyrus, or gyri, the precentral and the postcentral gyrus, which border the central sulcus, are easy to remember because the precentral gyrus is more anteriorly and the postcentral gyrus is more posteriorly. Now, the limbic system is the next thing I would like to talk about. Now, this is a group of structures located in the medial aspect of each cerebral hemisphere and diencephalon. The limbic system, its key players are the amygdala, which is the emotion center, the hippocampus, which controls new memories and old memories, the thalamus, which is not only responsible for our emotional lives, but also many higher mental functions, such as learning, the formation of memories. That is the most important one in my opinion. The next would be the cingulate gyrus, which coordinates smell and sight with pleasant memories. It induces an emotional reaction to pain, and it also helps regulate aggressive behavior. The basal ganglia is a group of nuclei lying deep in the subcortical white matter of the frontal lobes. Its functions include organizing motor behavior and coordinating rule-based habit learning. The hypothalamus, some special areas I'd like to talk about, is the Wernicke's area and the Broca's area. Now, the Broca's area, which is very special, it's a special speech area that plays a critical part in putting our thoughts into words. Those who unfortunately suffer from an injury to this area of the brain, called Broca's aphasia, can understand what people are saying, but when they try to communicate back, they can't really find the words and put them together to make sense. Whereas Wernicke's area, the region of the brain that contains motor neurons involved in the comprehension of speech, an injury to this is almost the opposite of the Broca's area. Instead of being able to understand everyone, but not being able to be understood, you still have the ability to produce speech and be understood, but you can't make sense of what anyone is saying. Next, we're going to talk about the meninges. These are the three connective tissue membranes that lie just external to the central nervous system organs, and its jobs are to cover and protect the central nervous system, to protect the blood vessels, and close the venous sinuses. It contains cerebral spinal fluid. It forms partitions in the skull, and it's made up of dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. And we will go into discussion of that in the next slide. Now, the spinal cord cross-section will be the last part we talk about in this video. This has to do with the breakdown of the actual spinal cord and what each part does. To start off the side with the indented furrow is the anterior medial fissure. On the posterior side of this is the posterior median sulcus. The gray-looking area within side is the gray matter, which is broken down into 4 sections as well as the white matter to indicate which part you're looking at. Before we even go into that, let's talk about white matter and gray matter. White matter allows the communication between the different parts of the spinal cord and between the spinal cord and the brain. The gray matter contains most of the brain's neural cell bodies. The gray matter includes regions of the brain involved in muscle control, sensory perception, such as seeing and hearing, or memory, emotions, or speech, or decision-making and self-control. On the anterior side is the anterior gray horns. On the lateral side, the lateral gray horns. And the posterior side is the posterior gray horns. Same with the white matter. The anterior side houses the anterior white column, lateral side, lateral white column, and the posterior side is the posterior white column. Now, in the middle of this, middle of the gray matter is a small little hole called the central canal. And a very small little line connecting the two horns in the middle is called the gray commissure. Now, the layers outside that space is the meninges. We briefly went over that, but now we can actually see it in a better diagram. Now, the first layer I want to talk about is the epidural space, which is that nice yellowish area at the top. It contains adipose tissue, and below that would be the dura mater, and following that would be the subdural space. Now, the subdural space is it's a small crack next to the dura mater. It's kind of hard to see in certain diagrams, but below that, the opening around the big area below, which it almost looks like it's got spider webs and cobwebs inside, that's called the arachnoid matter. And the inside within those cobweb space is the subarachnoid space, which that contains the cerebral spinal fluid. A good way to remember that is, once again, on a real model, it looks almost like cobwebs. Now, at the top left picture, we see the dorsal root ganglia. And that's going to be the last thing we talk about in this video. Those neural fibers, the dorsal root ganglia, it has neural fibers and a lot of cell bodies within it. The ganglia root branches out and forms ventral and dorsal root. At the end of these roots, they connect to make the spinal nerve, which again that then splits off the ventral ramus and the dorsal ramus.